So I've had the privilege of working with some really incredible people. Some very famous people, some very rich people. And some of the people that you meet, when you meet them, you would probably think that they should not be doing what they're doing. How can they be so wealthy? The way they are, the way they speak and stuff. But I've discovered that almost all of the people I've met have this ability to have very constructive inner voices. They do. I met a Gujarati businessman about 4 weeks ago, very, very wealthy diamond dealer, diamond manufacturer or polisher, whatever they call it. And they were telling me, you must have heard of this guy. He gives away some 800 cars to his staff, and he gives away these gifts. Every year he gives away thousands of apartments. Kisana, yeah. So there's a guy called Sauji Bhai. He's the owner. Yeah, so I know him very, very well. And I know the whole family really well. And I meet them and I think to myself, there's such an incredible group of people. You meet them, they're very simple. They don't have, they have a couple of nice cars and stuff, like the son's got a Lamborghini. I went to their wedding in Bali. They invited 2,000 people. They flew them over to Bali, all 2,000, put them up in a hotel, gave them water sports and jet skis and everything. And there were 2 sons that got married. The following, about 2 years later, the 3rd son was getting married. They gave him an option. Option number 1, we can keep a smaller wedding, and you can keep the money that we would have spent on the bigger wedding. Or option 2, we can have the bigger wedding. So they went for option 1, and they kept a small wedding. And they saved like crores of rupees, and what they did with the crores of rupees, they took the crores of rupees, and they gave it to charity. So wow, what amazing thinking. Now he's building a I don't know what bigger, what is bigger, 200 bigger. Okay, so he's building a 200 bigger. Oh wow, so he's building a 200 bigger lake in his village. Just because he wants to build a lake. And he's got charity. Every year he sends out thousands of gifts. And the hospitals and the schools and the education. And he was telling me that he started off as a diamond polisher, making 2,500 rupees a month. So what makes someone like him go from a 2,500 rupee a month diamond polisher to this year doing $1 billion a year? $1 billion, that's about 6,000 crores a year. It's crazy. What makes him do that? Yet, the simplicity. I went to meet him. I said to him, with every jewelry piece you give, you should give a band, like a positive band. I just kind of said it. The next day he called me up. He goes, I've ordered 250,000 bands. Wow. The other day I said to him, on my birthday I got a book. He gave a gift. So I rang him up and said, why don't you give my book out to people? He goes, okay, I will. Now I know that he'll probably order 100,000 books next week because he has so many gifts. But the point is that if you meet him or his family members, all of them, anything is possible. Anything. And I mean anything. They got a bungalow in Surat. And for the wedding, they built a lake outside, and they built the entire wedding on the lake, a floating wedding reception. It's crazy. Now you may think, what a waste of money, but they probably give more money to charity than they spend on themselves. The whole family eats together. There's no TV in the house. There's only game. They play table tennis and they play whatever games they do. They all eat together. The brothers and sister-in-laws get on. Now, all of their inner voices are really powerful, because I've realized that people who are really successful have some level of control on that inner voice. And that's going to determine whether you become like super successful or not. Some of you may know a guy called Hrithik Roshan, very good friend of mine. Now, with all the challenges that people go through, one of the biggest things that he's able to do is when the doctors told him that he cannot dance anymore because his cartilage in his knee is missing. It's like pretty much eroded. So the doctor said, you can't dance anymore. So in his mind, he said, well, there's no one's going to ever stop me from dancing. There's no way I'm going to stop dancing. And despite his doctors telling him that you're not going to dance, he's dancing today. He's dancing normally. So if I could give you a few other examples of people I know who have gone, like, not a great example maybe right now, but a guy called Sabrato Roy. You all know him, right? So we met him maybe I don't know, 10 years ago. And had a 12-hour conversation with him. And he was telling me how he became successful. And he started off with this, again, 4,000 rupee little moped he used to have. He used to drive around collecting money of people. And he went to a point where he owned the Grosvenor Hotel in London. I mean, it's crazy. One of the richest men in the country. Now, whether he's done good or bad, that's not for me to judge, and I'm not really interested in that. But the point is that there are people in this country and around you that have got proven examples of going from nothing to being something. And what is the difference? The difference has got to be that inner voice. It's got to be. Because I can't see anything else. Because the world is pretty much the same for all of us. If you look at the opportunities, they're pretty much the same for all of us. What is the difference? That you may have less money than somebody, or you may have more. Or you may come from a richer family or a poorer family. But the truth of the matter is that everybody can go out there and do something. If you look at a Shah Rukh Khan, he comes from a non-filmy background. He's the richest actor on earth now. On earth, above any other Hollywood actor as well. He's the richest actor in the world. So how is it possible that he can do that? Because the world is the same for him too. Today, let's say for example, you, in your mind right now, you decided that you're going to make $1 million a year. Let's say that was all that you could think of in your head. What could stop you?
Maybe I don't know certain things that I'm required to know. So,
but what
because
is
of that.
But the knowledge is irrelevant, because if you had in your mind that you want to make, if you want to make $1 million, and that is what you want, it's like, imagine it's driven in your head that all you can see is the $1 million. What is the probability of you not achieving it?
Repeat the question.
So here's an example, a true story. A woman is driving a car. The car punches. It topples over. She goes flying out the car. The car lands on the baby, on the leg of the baby. No one is around. What does she do? She lifts up the car and moves it and saves her baby. How is that possible? Another story. A man gets locked in a refrigerated train. You know these trains that carry meat and they're refrigerated. So he gets locked in there on a Saturday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday is a bank holiday. When they find him on Monday, he's frozen to death. But the refrigeration has not been on at all. He believed it was on and he froze himself to death. The Japanese used to do torture. They used to lie people down, blindfold them, just keep throwing water on their forehead and torturing them. Then they would say, I have a knife in my hand and I'm going to cut your throat. So they would get a feather, just a feather, and they would do this and the person would die of a heart attack, thinking that they're using a knife. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to be really clear that there's a correlation with what you say to yourself and your output. Look at your life. I guarantee you, every single part of your life where you have been weak, the inner dialogue has been destructive. I bet you. Prove me wrong, and I want you to. I'm not saying that you're not on a mission towards something great. Of course not. Because don't forget, even on that mission, you're going to hit yourself a few times. The question is, how much time are you in destruction and how much time are you in construction? So I look around and I think to myself, you know, if tomorrow someone kidnapped your parents and said to you, right, you got 2 years to make it. You have 2 years to do whatever you have to do to become successful and lose weight and do whatever you have to do, you'll do it. You'll do it because the inner voice will change from can I to oh my God, if I don't, this is going to happen. If you want to become outstanding, you want to become extraordinary, you've got to get to a point of taming this voice down.